next gen consoles disappoint? Now I have to put this out as a disclaimer first of all. Yes, I am a PC gamer. I've owned PlayStation 3s, I've owned Xbox 360s. I got rid of them a little while ago because I thought they were being left behind massively by PCs. But at the same time, I have the PlayStation 4 pre-ordered, and I will most also probably pick up the Xbox One. So the question is, will next gen consoles disappoint? Now this is coming from the fact that there's news stories recently. I recently reported on the fact that Dead Rising 3 was having some frame rate issues. And now you've also got Battlefield 4 potentially having some issues, or not really issues as such, but we'll get onto that. Previously stated Dead Rising 3 was having frame rate issues, and also there was articles recently saying that Battlefield 4 graphics reportedly were lacking on the PS4. Now that wasn't just the PS4, that was the title of the article, but it was also on the Xbox One, which both obviously next gen consoles. Now I think people are expecting something amazing, something absolutely jaw-dropping compared to the Xbox 360 and the PS3. It's not going to happen like that. We're not going to have the massive graphical difference that we had, for argument's sake, between the PS1 or the PS2 or the Super Nintendo and the N64, for example, when we went from 2D to 3D. It's not going to work like that anymore. I think what we'll see at best as better console experiences, if you like. For example, larger maps, more players, and also better lighting, better mapping, better textures, etc. But you're not going to notice a massive leap forward in graphical improvement here. Now you've also got, like I mentioned, the stories of Dead Rising 3 struggling with frame rate issues, which people could say it's because they're not used to the hardware yet, etc. I would argue the point that it's basically PC hardware watered down, so it shouldn't be that hard for developers at the start to get, quite a lot out of these machines. Now on the back of it, you've also got reports saying Battlefield 4 graphics aren't looking too shit hot on next gen consoles. Now I'd say for the consoles themselves, they probably are, if you directly compare them to the Xbox 360 and the PS3, but if people are going to compare them to modern PCs, then yeah, there's going to be a bit of disappointment still. There's going to be a massive difference. It's not like, for example, I think when the original Xbox 360 was released, if you were to compare it to PCs at the time, I think it was ahead of PCs graphically at the time, if I'm right. Now you're looking at, for example, a PS4 GPU is the equivalent of roughly it's going about saying an AMD or a Radeon HD 7850, which is not a good graphics card. It's not top of the line. There's a couple of things that you need to take into consideration. Obviously you need to keep the price point down for consoles while still delivering a good experience. Gaming PCs, they cost a lot of money. A graphics card alone can cost as much as one of these consoles, so you have to take that into consideration, a bit of realisation that it's not going to be PC standard, which I think what the issue was with the Battlefield 4 article, basically saying compared to the PC version, the PS4 version didn't look that great. But the disappointment for me anyway is the fact that these games aren't coming out the gate straight away 1080p 60 frames per second, which is what I would expect as a minimum for these next gen consoles, especially if you think the life cycle of these machines is going to be 10 years. What are these machines going to be like in 2 years time compared to PC hardware? They're going to get left behind massively. But like I said, PC hardware is expensive, the hardware inside these machines are expensive. They could have maybe released an $800, for argument's sake, £700 machine, and it would have been a bit more powerful, but nobody would have bought it, not at that price. It's ridiculous. You're going back to Panasonic 3DO prices from back in the 90s. So are people expecting too much from these next gen consoles? Are they expecting a massive leap in graphical fidelity, like I said? Are developers even expecting to get more out of them than what they are? They try to push things a little bit too far, hence the Dead Rising 3 frame rate issues. It's interesting to certainly see how things are going to stand up in 5 years time, considering that these consoles are supposed to be a 10-year life cycle. It's disappointing for me that these things are struggling out the bat. Maybe it's a case of developers aren't 100% sure what they're doing with the technology. Like I said, it's basically PC technology that's in these machines, PC architecture, so they should have a fairly good idea. But I'm hoping that things will improve. I'm hoping that it's not going to be a case of games in 5 years' times are going to drop down to 30 frames per second because they're trying to push things too far, or I don't know. I don't think these machines are as powerful as what people are expecting, especially when you compare them to the PC equivalent. Now, like I said, guys, this wasn't some trolling video. I don't want to get some hate here. I'm not a PC fanboy. Just a bit of reality, a bit of realization that yes, these are next gen quote machines, but they're not massive monstrous behemoths. They seem to be struggling out the gate. Not all games are hitting 1080p 60 frames per second, which is disappointing. But like I said, we'll have to see how things pan out. As always, guys, if you like the video, please press the like button. If you're new to the channel, please press the subscribe button. Make sure you come back for future content. Be interesting to see how things pan out in the future with these machines. But as always, until next time.